Oh, good morning, everyone. If we haven't met, I'm Gullu. I'm going to be uh, with you today, and we'll do a little bit of chanting, a little bit of sitting, and I'm going to share some reflections. I discovered, maybe these have been here all along, but I discovered these YouTube videos that have the chants, some of them, and the words. So saves us from having to fiddle with a chant book. So I thought we'd start with the 5 subjects for frequent recollection. Let me see. Seem to be working. Okay. Technical difficulties.
Let us chant the 5 subjects for frequent recollection. I'm of the nature to age, I have not gone beyond aging. I am of the nature to sicken, I have not gone beyond sickness. I am of the nature to die, I have not gone beyond dying. All that is mine, beloved and pleasing, will become otherwise, will become separated from me. I am the owner of my karma, heir to my karma, born of my karma, related to my karma, abide supported by my karma. Whatever karma I shall do, for good or for ill, of that I will be the heir. Thus we should frequently recollect.
This is a chant that I did daily for uh, several years, and it I don't know, the first time I heard it, it seemed a little like Debbie Downer, all these inevitable terrible things are going to happen. Um, but the more and more I've come to practice with this idea, the more and more I found it to be uh, actually something that produces joy. Mm, Like, in a way, it's a formulation of the Buddha's central teachings. There is suffering at and the linchpin where it turns at the end. You're the owner of our karma, heir of your karma, supported by your karma. This is the whole kind of endeavor we're in to practice to like plant the seeds of future karma that will help us navigate life's inevitable issues with grace and with equanimity. One of the most joyful things I ever did actually was I went to a retreat at Spirit Rock. It's called the Maranasati retreat. It's mindfulness of death. and you basically spend a whole week contemplating death. And we don't really get the chance to do the things that are described in the Buddha's time of like sitting at the edge of a charnel ground and watching bodies being cremated, or seeing bodies in various states of decay. And well, we did all this on this retreat, and it was surprising that what arose for me again and again and again was the preciousness of this life, and how it is so fleeting, and how it's incumbent upon us to kind of seize the day and make the most of it. And I know no better way to do that than this practice that we're engaged in here. Now let's do the Great Compassion Mantra. If you've done the ceremony, this is a recording that's used for that ceremony. So it's 3 times in a row in rapid succession. And you can follow along. You can chant. The words will appear on the screen. You can just feel the energetic power of these ancient syllables. And I find that this in particular is useful to bring a lot of energy into the system. And for me, it's relatively early on a Sunday, and good to like put some energy into the system. And if you feel some extra energy, see if that energy can transform into the energy that keeps you present in the meditation, kind of wakeful alertness that is really helpful when we're trying to train the mind. So I'll play this 7-minute recording and then have a little bit of silence before I provide some guidance. So you just think of it seamlessly transitioning into your meditation.
Namo Haladanandolaye Namo Hariye Bodhiri Shambholaye Bodhisattvaye Moha Sattvaye Moha Jaluni Jaye Nansapan Lavaye Sodano Dashina Mochi Jili Doi Mangariye Bodhiri Shafula Lando Panamo Nola Jinja Jili Moa Pando Samye Sapa Tudo Jipang Ashirin Sapa Sando Namo Pasado Namo Pajimo Fata Roda Jutang Nanda Palu Chilu Jari Jalari Jili Moa Bodhisattva Sapa Sapa Mola Mola Moshi Moshi Lito Yin Julu Julu Jeman Dulu Dulu Fashe Yedi Moha Fashe Yedi Dola Dola Dili Nishu Fola Ye Jula Jula Momo Famola Bodhili Yeshi Yeshi Shunno Shunno La Shun Fola Shuri Fasha Fashan Fola Shuri Hulu Hulu Mola Hulu Hulu Chili Sola Sola Chili Chili Sulu Sulu Puti Puti Putoye Putoye Miri Ye Nola Ginger Diri Shiny Nopaye Mono Sopa Sitoye Sopa Moha Sitoye Sopa Sitoye Yishur Panaye Sopa Nola Ginger Sopa Mola Nola Sopa shi lu sang mu chu ye so pa mo ha shi to ye so pa cha ji la shi to ye so pa bo to mo je si to ye so pa no la jin chir pan che la ye so pa mo pali shan che la ye so pa nam mo la da nan do la ye nam mo ri ye po lu ji ri shao bo la ye so pa nan ji jan du man do la ba to ye so pa nam mo la da nan do la ye nam mo ri ye po lu ji ri shao bo la ye po ti sa to pa ye mo sa to pa ye mo cha lu ni cha ye nan sa pan la pa ye so da no da shi na mo chi ji ri to ye ma ga li ye pa lu ji ri chu fa la lan do pa na mo no la jin chu ti ri mo a pan do sam ye sa pa to do shu pang a shi yin sa pa sa do na mo pa sa do na mo pa je mo fa da do da ju tan nan na pa lu shi lu ja ri ja la ri ye si ri mo a bu ti sa do sa pa ma la mo shi li to yin ju lu je man tu lu fa shi ye ri mo fa shi ye ri to la di li ni shi fo la ye je la mo fa mo la mo di li ye shi shen no la shen fo la she li fa shen fo la she ye hu lu mo la hu lu shi li so la shi li su lu pu ti ye pu to ye mi di li ye no la jin che di li shai ni no pa ye mo no so pa ha shi to ye so pa ha mo ha shi to ye so pa ha shi to ye shi pan na ye so pa ha no la jin che so pa ha mo la no la so pa ha shi lu sang na mu che ye so pa mo ha shi to ye so pa ha cha ji la shi to ye so pa ha bo ro mo je si to ye so pa ha no la jin che pan che la ye so pa ha mo pa ri shan che la ye so pa ha nam mo la dan nan do la ye nam mo li ye po lo ji ri shao po la ye so pa ha nan ji jan du man do la ba to ye so pa ha nam mo la dan nan do la ye nam mo ri ye po lo ji ri shao po la ye po ti sa to pa ye mo sa to pa ye mo cha lu ni cha ye nan sa pan la pa ye so da no da shi na mo si ji ri to ye ma ga ri ye po lo ji ri shu pa la lan do pa na mo no la jin cha si li mo a pan do sa me sa pa da shu pan a shu yin sa pa sa do na mo pa sa do na mo pa je mo fa da do da je tan na na pa lu shi lu ja ri ja la ri chi li mo a pa de sa do sa pa mo la mo shi li do yan ju lu je man du lu fa shi ye di mo fa shi ye di do la di li ni shi fo la ye je la mo fa mo la mo di li ye shi shen no la shen fo la she li fa shen fo la she ye hu lu mo la hu lu shi li so la shi li su lu pu ti ye pu to ye mi di li ye no la shin chu di li shai ni no pa ye mo no so pa chi to ye so pa mo ha chi to ye so pa chi to ye shi pan na ye so pa no la jin chu so pa mo la no la so pa chi lu sang na mu chu ye so pa mo ha chi to ye so pa cha ji la chi to ye so pa bo ro ma je si to ye so pa no la jin chu pan che la ye so pa mo pa ri shan je la ye Namo Haladanadoraye Namo Hariye Bolujiri Shabolaye Sopahanansi Jantu Mandola Badoye
Resting the attention on the echoes of the sounds. Maybe some sensations in the body. Maybe connecting with any emotions that might be present. And then finding the sense of ground in the body. Might be the feeling of the feet on the floor. Might be the weight of the body in your seat. Maybe a sense of letting go of anything extra. Allowing yourself to be fully supported. The constant pull of the earth. This might mean the shoulders dropping down, back slightly. This might mean a softening of the belly. Maybe relaxing anything extra in the back. And then letting the attention rest on the feeling of the breath, moving in and out of the body. Or using any other anchor or home base that's helpful for you. Receiving the flow of sensations. of the breathing body, and everything else fades into the background. Letting go of any agenda, nowhere to go, nothing to get, nothing to get rid of. Practicing with the attitude that there's no place you'd rather be. And support this attitude by connecting with the breath in a way that feels pleasing, easy, or even the half smile of the Buddha. Relaxing into the simplicity of this way of being, just receiving the in breath, receiving the out breath. So in a moment, I'll ring the bell, letting the sound of the bell draw the attention outward. So I spent last week in a Brahma Vihara retreat. What's happening at Spirit Rock, and 100 people on the land there, and about 40 people practicing online. I was supporting the online people. Um, so partly because of that, I wanted to talk about equanimity. Upekkhā and pali. It's appears on many of the lists we get from the Buddha. And almost always it's the last one on the list. It's this sense of uh, culmination. In particular on the 7 factors of awakening. Uh, it's the 7th factor. So it's like maybe the precipice of awakening. The quote from the Buddha describing equanimity: as a solid mass of rock is not disturbed by the wind, so the sage is not moved by praise and blame. As a deep lake is clear and undisturbed, so the sage becomes clear upon hearing the Dhamma. Virtuous people always let go. They don't prattle about pleasures and desires. Touched by happiness and then by suffering, the sage shows no signs of being elated or depressed. I really like this quote because I feel like the conditions of my life right now and the conditions of the world, particularly here in the United States, that I am like being whipsawed back and forth between a kind of like a sense of joy and well-being that I get from being in groups like this, that I get from practice, uh, good spiritual friendship, to like just the sorrow and anguish of like some such sort of chaos and uncertainty. Um, touched by happiness, then by suffering. Touched by happiness, then by suffering. Like whipsawing back and forth like a roller coaster ride. And the promise of equanimity is to, I guess ultimately be um, even. But I think more realistically, at least for myself, is to be, less at uh, less extremes. I find it interesting that equanimity, you could say, is like a culmination or fruition of practice, when the mind is steady and is undisturbed. Um, but it's also sometimes the thing that draws us to practice. Maybe we don't have this word equanimity. I used this word one time with a friend who's not in our Buddhist circles, and kind of looked at me strangely, and then he said, "Horses." It's like equanimity is not a word that we use that often outside the circle, but it's, and in the context of the Brahma Viharas, it's this like unbounded, limitless quality of being, think of somebody who's like somebody who has endless patience, or you know, people that seem to have endless kindness. This is like a it's not a scarce resource. The most helpful way for me to have cultivated some modicum of equanimity is to really tune in to all the moments that I'm not equanimous. It seems like that in a lot of things of practice. Like we notice, uh, we cultivate patience by noticing when we're impatient. We cultivate simplicity of renunciation when we're in the distress of overdoing it. So plenty of opportunities to practice. endless, endless opportunities to practice. Think of mindfulness as a data gathering mechanism. Even to know when we're not equanimous, it's not. Maybe you know people in your life who, you know, just sort of vague sense of like they're in a bad mood, but they don't really. It's not really. I kind of woke up on the wrong side of the bed kind of feeling, but it goes unexamined. And the Dhamma invites us not only to examine the felt sense experience of what it is to be agitated or irritated or upset, but also to see the connections. What are the conditions leading to that state of being? So, pick a random example. If you're someone like me who enjoys being well informed, uh, can notice that reading the news causes agitation. And no, not necessarily a bad thing. It's good to, like the heart needs to be moved from time to time. Uh, but developing a kind of stewardship of what we're consuming. Having enough mindfulness, actually, even to know what is it that we're consuming. One of the ways that I've heard Tanisara describe practice that's been very meaningful for me was she said, practice is developing the wisdom to know where to rest the heart. You could say rest the attention, rest the mind. There's so many things that are competing for our attention now more than ever. There's like endless access to information, entertainment, music, things beeping and buzzing at us to capture our attention. Not to mention, the ancient things of people in our family, our responsibilities, and whatever we do with our time in the world. And yet our attention is limited. So developing the wisdom to know where is it most fruitful in this moment to rest the heart. What's deserving of my attention in this moment? And maybe the most valuable thing we have to give to anyone or anything is our attention. But developing the wisdom to know where to rest the heart, and then having the meditative ability to actually do that. I guess one thing to say, I'm going to pay full attention to the people in front of me, but it's another thing to actually be able to do it. It's one thing to say, I'm going to pay attention to my breath for 30 minutes. And it's a whole other thing to actually be able to do that. And this is why I'm, so encouraging of daily meditation practice, so that this mindfulness is a capacity, as a like a skill set, as a orientation is just more close at hand. The more you practice in this formal way of really trying to kind of do nothing and just watching the mind. Mindfulness is the data gathering system, and it's traditionally said that once we have a modicum of a steady mind, that we can begin to deconstruct our experiences to see, ultimately we say, the emptiness of these experiences. That the chant reminds us all things are impermanent, constant flux, always changing. Even the things we're clinging and grasping to, are quite often changing. And we can see that change, not as an intellectual concept, but as a defining characteristic of what it is to be a human being, to be in this world of constant, almost vibratory flux. Becomes easier to let go of whatever we're clinging to. We pay attention to the nature of our experience, we see almost immediately the unsatisfactoriness of these, at least the sensual world, you could say, the pleasant feeling, oh, it's great. A little pain shows up, oh, it's terrible. It's that whipsaw again. Being equanimity invites us to find the middle, not bracing too hard when things are unpleasant, and not holding on too tight when things are good. And then the most elusive of these, seminal insights is we say not self, and it immediately sounds super esoteric, but it's much easier to grasp when you see that we use self as a verb, selfing. I don't know if I still told this story to this group before, but I was at Spirit Rock giving a talk, and there's about 100 people in the room, so if one is prone to being nervous for public speaking, it's not insubstantial. If you care deeply about the Dhamma, then it's like a little added pressure. But I don't really have that. I'm actually quite comfortable speaking for groups and speaking from the heart. But as I was walking into the room, retreatant motioned me over, and I bent down, and he whispered in my ear, "This better be good." And I got the joke. I thought it was pretty funny. And then almost immediately, this cascade of self-doubt, just like this, like, oh my God, what if this isn't good? Like, what if this is the worst talk that's ever been given? Like, what? Oh my God, maybe I should have prepared more. There's all this, like, we say papancha, this proliferation of thought that arose. And it's helpful when you're on retreat, because you practice, even as a teacher, you practice several hours a day. So I could see, oh, this is like, I actually said to myself, there's a lot of selfing happening here. There's a lot of like taking birth in the identity of a good Dharma teacher, or the one who gives good talks, or whatever it might be. And it was causing tremendous suffering, the mental anguish, and then the body was like super anxious, heart was racing. I had that experience outside of exercise in a long time. Heart was just beating out of my chest, couldn't quite catch my breath. And that's something we do. Actually, you could say there is no self. It's not that helpful, but you could pay more attention to when you're creating that sense of defending something, protecting something, want to plant a flag on something, and see how that like almost immediately causes some form of suffering, wanting to be right. But one takeaway from this is that like I strive to have perfect equanimity and never be thrown off balance like that. But it's almost just as good when you can re-regulate. So here I am, I'm sitting in front of all these people, I'm just like kind of freaking out, and then I just used the practice, like named those thoughts that were happening in my head, selfing, and then I felt the butterflies in the stomach, tried to soften, felt the chest beating rapidly, and just tend to that experience with kind of loving awareness, not trying to fix it. That just creates more agitation, but just being with. And the nature of the body is that it settles. The nature of this system is it seeks equilibrium. So, minute maybe, which seems like an eternity when people are waiting for you to speak, but it was maybe a minute, and it's kind of back to myself. I kind of zigzagged and meandered here, but I wanted to share a quote. So there's this woman, Jan Fraser. She wrote a book called "When Fear Falls Away," and my friend and colleague Cara Lai went to actually go meet her and talk to her and sit with her because she had a moment of awakening. I guess it's like fear fell away. I haven't read the book yet, but here's what she says about equanimity. Whatever has weighed on you suddenly no longer weighs. It may still be there, a fact in your life, but it has no mass, no gravity. All that has ever troubled you is now just a feature of the landscape, like a tree or a passing cloud. Every bit of emotional and mental turmoil has ceased. The entire burden, some form of which has been with you as long as you can remember, a thing as familiar as your closest friend, as much a part of you as the language you speak and the color of your skin, is utterly, inexplicably gone. Into the startling emptiness blows a quiet joy that buoys you morning, noon, and night. It goes everywhere with you into every kind of circumstance, even into sleep. Everything you undertake becomes effortless. You are happy, but for no reason. Nothing bothers you. You feel no stress. When a problem arises, you know what to do, you do it, and you let it go. Because your equanimity is disconnected from anything in your outer life, you know that no matter what challenge you are handed for the rest of your life, the peace will sustain. It's so startling to hear, like that. That's a person who's alive right now is sharing this experience. Um, it has that quality that the words of the Buddha, abundant, exalted, immeasurable. It has that quality of. I mean, she says that whatever's weighed on you suddenly no longer weighs. It has no gravity. This to me seems analogous to when we chant the Heart Sutra. There's the line in there that says. The Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara was practicing the profound Prajnaparamita. She illuminated the five skandhas and saw that they were all empty and passed beyond all suffering. Seeing the emptiness in things, it's kind of like they have no gravity, they have no weight. So maybe I'll stop talking there and see if anyone has any comments or questions or